really limiting.
Today we are taking a look at Cadillac's new entry-level electric vehicle. This is the Optiq, which is a subcompact electric crossover riding on the same platform as the Chevy Equinox EV. This vehicle is standard dual motor all-wheel drive, making 300 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque, and as you can see, offers a pretty unique design over its Chevy counterpart. So let's take a detailed walk around and drive of this new electric Cadillac to see what their entry-level gateway EV is all about. All right, apologies for the wind noise. It's very windy, as you can see with the grass, and apologies that the car is dirty. I do have a good excuse, as you can see right now. But this is the very front end of the Cadillac Optiq, and as you can see, it has a very thin shield grille that actually does illuminate at night when you approach the vehicle, and the logo is also illuminating, so that's pretty cool. And we have the signature vertical daytime running lights and light signature that we get on all Cadillacs. So even though this is a really small car, it still has a decent amount of presence to it. I do really like this color, this kind of like frosty blue color we have on this particular model. I selected it of the options they had today, and so I do think it looks really good. These are the upgraded 21-inch wheels on this particular Sport 2 Cadillac Optiq. 20s come standard, these are 21s. They're fine. I never think Cadillac does excellent wheels, and these aren't an exception. They're just fine. And up here we have the charging port, this Cadillac emblem. If I press it, it will automatically open. You can see this is a CCS vehicle right now. You do get an adapter so you can supercharge at a Tesla supercharging station, but it's still CCS. Cadillac hasn't quite adopted NACS on their native ports yet. Coming on along to the side profile, we can see that even though this is quite a small car, the wheelbase is really stretched to the corners of the vehicle, which is just a benefit of the electric platform. They have been able to really maximize the space on the inside. So even though this is like compact, subcompact electric crossover, there's a decent amount of space on the inside, which I'll get into in a bit. You can also see this very interesting C-pillar on this vehicle, which has part of the Cadillac shield motif etched into it. I'm not sure if I really like this. You have to get it. This is on every single Cadillac Optiq. No option about it, but I don't know. What do you think? It does kind of nicely fade into then the rear lights. Around back, this is where the car is the dirtiest, sorry, and where it will be the windiest. But I actually really like the rear end. So this is an element of the taillights, as is this. I think that's a really cool way that they have split that up. It does remind me a little bit of like a Kia Sorento. There's definitely a little bit of design familiarities there, but I like how they have kind of brought those vertical lighting elements into this smaller package. 500 E4, so this is all-wheel drive is what E4 means, and then 500 is like the Newton meters of torque rounded up to the nearest whole 100 number. That's where they get that figure from. And then obviously this is the Optiq. If we push this emblem, the tailgate will rise. There, the lights are flashing. And excuse my bags, but this is where we're gonna find 26 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. So again, it's not that big of a car on the outside, but that is plenty of space on the inside. Definitely very usable. And there is some more storage under there for like the charging cables. There is no frunk on the Cadillac Optiq, so this is all you're gonna get in terms of cargo. One last thing to note about that NACS adapter, it does not actually come with the Optiq. You do have to pay extra in order to get it, and GM says you need to use the GM adapter. I don't know if that's necessarily the case because it's just hardware. You can get some third-party ones. But anyways, let's hop into the second row, and I do like how these door handles pop out and you pull on the front of them, kind of like a Aston Martin, and we are greeted with this pretty beautiful interior. I do really like the color that we have on this particular Optiq, and there aren't that many options to add to Optiq. Basically, this entire interior, except for the color of these seats, is standard. So this trim element here, which is a recycled material, some of the trim elements further up, all of that comes standard with the regular Optiq, which is pretty cool, and I really like to see that. And sitting up, this chair is adjusted to my ideal driving position, so with my hat, I do kind of hit, if I take my hat off, I'm still kind of hitting the cutout for the pano sunroof, so it's a little cramped in the back, but I do have plenty of knee room, and footroom behind my ideal driving position. That's really impressive. But yeah, I really love the design, again, of these door panels. This is a recycled material. We have these excellent AKG stereo systems featuring Dolby Atmos. This kind of like plasticky trim that's still, I think, really cool. Our door handles themselves are these like latches that you pull up and then pull into close. Nice window switches and door lock controls. We have on the back of this Sport 2 dual heated seats for the outboard seats, 2 USB-C charging outlets, 120 and air vents. So I'm pretty impressed by the space back here because, again, this is a really small footprint of a car. If we fold down this pair of cup holders, but it's still very spacious. And even though I don't fully fit in the back here, I could definitely sit back here for a couple of hours, no problem. And we get to really appreciate this standard panoramic glass roof. A little dirty right now, as I mentioned, but let's hop into the front row because that's really where things are cool. Into the front now of the Cadillac Optiq, we're gonna be greeted with more of this beautiful interior. So I'm gonna move my seat back a little bit just to give you a wider perspective. And to start the car, you just have the key in the vehicle and put your foot on the brake and everything starts to life. Oh, turn that off. That is all copyrighted. As you can see, we have Super Cruise on this Cadillac Optiq because it comes standard on the Cadillac Optiq, which I definitely love to hear. There are a lot of features that come standard. This material also, this like looks like wood grained trim is actually recycled newspapers, which is really cool to see. So there's just so many little details. I love how the top of the door panel fades into the front of the dash and how the upper material as well. This is a pretty standard headliner, but it's a light gray color that I've never actually seen on a vehicle before that I think works really well with this very light brown, almost orange seats that we get on this particular Optiq, as well as this kind of woven material. And I really think this interface is also super elegant. I love this steering wheel. I don't love that they are all gloss black controls on the steering wheel, but I think overall it's very elegant. And this 33-inch display that is found on Cadillac Lyriq, Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, really nice, except it does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, even though it does in those other models. Cadillac does not offer CarPlay and Android Auto on their EVs, even though Lyriq is an EV. It was kind of launched before they implemented that. So it's just a bit disappointing that this system doesn't have it. We do have Dolby Atmos integration, as you can see, but right now we don't have any service, so we can't really play this music, versus if I could, you know, play via Apple Music on CarPlay, I can download music and then I would be able to play it. So yeah, you know, I harp on this a lot, but not a fan of the fact that there is no CarPlay or Android Auto. We do have a virtual rear view mirror as well, and I really like this kind of accent trim as well, kind of brightens the mood, and physical climate controls as well, which is really nice. We have a wireless charging pad like right here, excuse the iced tea and some of the stuff, and then we have a center console with some stuff in it right now. So overall, I think this is a really beautiful interior. I'm actually really impressed by what they've done. Like the seat controls up here, like a true luxury vehicle. We have massaging seats as well, which is really cool to see. If I press that again, all right, why isn't it? There it goes. I can turn on my massage, which is really cool. I just really do think this steering wheel though is elegant, and I'm impressed by the interior design. And I think the only thing this car needs are those connected services of CarPlay and Android Auto, and then it would be one of the most competitive vehicles on the market. It's a really, really cool car. But now let's get this Optiq on the road to see how it drives. All right, driving the 2025 Cadillac Optiq on PCH. We're not right by the ocean right now, but we will be soon. This isn't a sporty vehicle though. This is definitely a comfort and luxury first car, which is not a bad thing, but Cadillac did want to make this car more premium than the Chevy Equinox on which this vehicle is based, the Equinox EV. And so it has the standard dual motor all-wheel drive system, making 300 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque, which we cannot experience right now because we're stuck behind a rather slow-moving Cadillac SRX. A Cadillac is getting in our way of this Cadillac, but we can take some time to really appreciate this interior. I think this is a really impressive design in here. We have a lot of cool materials to work with, recycled materials. This wood-looking trim is actually recycled newspaper, which is also really cool. And these beautiful brown leather seats. I think it's really good looking. And the cool thing about this car is there aren't that many options. You can only get about $6,000 worth of options. It starts at $54,000. And with that, you get that dual motor all-wheel drive setup. You get Super Cruise Standard, which is one of my favorite new car features. You get basically this interior, although not this color combination. You can get a black or a lighter color combination. You get this 33-inch display, which is absolutely beautiful. And yeah, you're getting so much for that price, which, so $54,000 might seem like a lot of money for kind of a subcompact luxury crossover, borders on subcompact to compact. But you are getting a lot for that price. General Motors is packing a lot into this car. And so I do like to see that, and I think this is a really elegant interior. I'm in the sport mode right now, which firms up the steering a bit and gives you quicker throttle response. You notice it especially just to kind of, I think, in the throttle mapping mostly, and that steering weight. It's not gonna be, you know, a stellarly quick vehicle. EVs give you torque instantly, but General Motors on this it's no longer called Ultium. They're calling it GM electric platform, something like that, GM EV platform. They like to wean in the torque a bit more. I think it's preserving the motors and the tires, so it's not the neck snapping acceleration. 354 pound-feet of torque isn't a crazy high number anyways, but I don't think they actually give it to you right away. It's kind of a bit more gradual, even when you're in the sport mode. It's still quick, no doubt, and perfectly smooth as it is an EV, but it's not quite as quick as something, say, like from Hyundai. I think a GV60 feels a little zippier off the line. And taking these corners at 20 miles an hour, because that is what this XRX is doing, you know, the car remains upright at this speed, but I can tell it's a narrow vehicle. It doesn't have a super wide stance. It's not really set up for canyon carving. Again, this is more of a comfort-oriented vehicle, and I think that's okay. It is a small footprint, though, which does kind of help its athletic driving characteristics. But overall, I would say comfort before performance in Cadillac Optiq. Another thing that's cool about the Cadillac Optiq, obviously as it is an EV, it has regenerative braking, and when you're in the high regen brake category, it does 0.3 Gs of deceleration, so 0.3 times the accelerations due to gravity in stopping the car, which is pretty strong. But there's also a paddle on the left side of the steering wheel, which if you pull all the way, will do 0.4 Gs of deceleration on the car. So that's a really impressive stopping power that will obviously recuperate some energy back into the battery, giving you a little more range, and will help bring the car to a stop without using the brakes, which is pretty cool. One of the benefits of electric vehicles is less maintenance, because you have a lot less moving parts, and your things like your brakes are going to be used a lot less. This entire time we have been losing elevation and going around a bunch of twisty corners, going very slow again behind this SRX, and I haven't touched the brakes once. It has been all one pedal driving, the battery or the motors recuperating energy into the battery. But you can also turn off one pedal driving if that's not your preference. You can drive this like a normal vehicle, like a gas vehicle, if you so desire. So I like that GM gives you that option. Now, another thing to note about Optiq, going back to kind of the interior of this vehicle, is that we do not have CarPlay. We do not have Android Auto. This is an electric vehicle from General Motors, and for whatever reason, they give a lot of reasons, but they do not offer those systems right now on this display, even though this display is also found in, say, Cadillac CT5e Blackwing, which I was driving a couple weeks ago, which does have CarPlay. Also is found in Lyriq, which still offers CarPlay, although I think they are planning to take that away, that offering away. So I think that's a bit disappointing. You know, I know people who would consider this vehicle, but won't now that it doesn't have CarPlay, and I just think that is Cadillac's they're going to lose some customers as a result. And we have lost our SRX lead, so flooring it now. Yep, the power, the torque, it is an instant. It's not like, oop, there's all the power. It kind of weans you into the power. Quick though, but not fast, I would say. It's fun, and now we have an Acura RLX. Oh no, they're leaving. Okay, awesome. So now we can take a corner with some more speed, and yeah, it definitely leans a little bit. I think all I'm gonna call it Ultium because that's what they've been calling it for forever, and it's easier than whatever the new name is. All Ultium-based vehicles, I don't think are really dynamic. They're more comfort-oriented, all incredibly quiet. It is really quiet in here, but they are not necessarily the sharpest around a corner. They don't really mask their weight well, I think, in a side-to-side motion. And it's very isolating in here, which is like crazy impressive how quiet it is in here at speed. But we're definitely leaning a bit in the corners. We can carry some speed, but I feel like I'm about to fall out of my seat a little bit. So not the most athletic. So it's very quiet in here, and that's, I think, one benefit of all Ultium-based vehicles. And another noise element that we have in this Optiq is Dolby Atmos integration, which Cadillac has gone to great lengths to talk to us about. We went to Dolby's headquarters to hear some mixing, into a mixing studio to hear some tracks being mixed and how that process works with Dolby Atmos. Basically what Dolby Atmos is it's software that has been integrated into this vehicle, integrated into this AKG speaker system in order to provide super robust surround sound, is in my layman's terms. That's how I would describe it. They're able to separate all the elements of a song, so say the vocals, the instruments, any like beat going on, and then move them around to different spaces of the car. And it is really impressive, I have to say. This AKG speaker system is really good. The Dolby Atmos, I kind of noticed the surround sound nature. There are things that seem to be coming from the back of the car, and in conjunction then with how quiet this vehicle is, you can have a really good, music experience in this car, which is pretty cool. I just wish I could use my Apple Music with Dolby Atmos right now, because right now, since there's no connected services offered, and Apple Music is a streaming service that does have Dolby Atmos, there's the ocean. Right now it's only Amazon Music and Tidal that are built into this system with Dolby Atmos, which is really limiting. Personally, I don't know anyone with Amazon Music or with Tidal, so, I think it's gonna be very few people right away who have that availability, but Cadillac is working on expanding to more streaming services. There's also Spotify built in, and I think you can maybe get YouTube Music, but those do not support Dolby Atmos at this time. So it's a really cool thing, but it's super limited right now, partially because Cadillac is not offering a lot of connected services. But anyways, the road has opened up, the sky has cleared, and I can tell you that this is not the car I would select for this road if I had infinite options, but it's also not completely falling apart. I do like how quick the steering is. That certainly helps me feel confident while taking these corners, and the regenerative braking also is nice to slow the car down when you are approaching a curve. But overall, I'm really impressed by, one, how quiet this car is. I think the ride is pretty good too. We are on 21-inch rims. 20s or 21s are the options for Optiq, and it's not terribly floaty, I would say, but it's pretty compliant, and the suspension is forgiving over bumps, and yeah, a very comfortable and isolating experience. So that's the 2025 Cadillac Optiq. Now we need to talk about the price. This vehicle starts at $54,000, which might seem like a lot for such a little car, but again, you're getting 302 miles of all-electric range, 300 horsepower, dual motor all-wheel drive setup, a lot of the luxury and features we talked about, that 33-inch display, Super Cruise comes standard, all of that for that price. It actually is a pretty decent offering and package. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.